R. Kelly's relatives, in fact his godson, and you heard it in his own words, almost alluding to this sort of vast conspiracy. They're trying to destroy his name. When you look him up online, all kinds of negative things pop up. But one would argue it's all happened because of R. Kelly's own actions and what he did for some 30 years, sexually abusing both boys and girls, the majority of them, in fact all of them, young and black, and certainly all of them that testified here.
There was no mass conspiracy against R. Kelly. No one conspired with Sony Records to keep whatever money that Mr. Britzer alleges. I remember a professor of mine at George Washington University introduced us the concept of confirmation bias and cognitive dissonance. And basically, when you think about what cognitive dissonance is, it literally is a way to not feel the psychological pain that the truth will cause. And the truth in this case is that his godfather is a sexual predator. And that's more difficult to accept than there must be some grand conspiracy against him. So my thoughts when I hear this is that this is just cognitive dissonance gone amok on steroids.
So in that moment, as producer, a showrunner, I wasn't able to be a survivor myself. I wasn't able to be like a sister or a friend. I had to produce something that would make it to air and that we wouldn't get sued over. And despite threats from his camp and accusations that we had lied and that there were falsehoods in this docuseries, we never got sued. And furthermore, everything that was in our docuseries ended up being repeated in open court under oath over the past 5 weeks.
She famously represented Bill Cosby on his appeal before the Pennsylvania Supreme Court concerning his 2018 sexual assault conviction, which ultimately got overturned, and Cosby walked out of prison a free man. Now she's taking on a new client, R. Kelly, who was convicted in September of sex trafficking and racketeering charges and currently faces life in prison for those crimes.
I approach every case the same way. And I look and I say, has there been a miscarriage of justice? And in my mind, a miscarriage of justice occurs when the government oversteps, when they overreach, when they violate someone's constitutional right to a fair trial. And then I ask myself, is there anything I can do about it? Can I possibly get this individual some type of remedy, some type of relief? And when I looked at R. Kelly's case, I found that both of those things were true. And so I had no reservations about taking R. Kelly's case. What I see was a travesty of justice and how the process worked. And when the process doesn't work, the outcomes are not fair, they're not righteous. And as a result, I took R. Kelly's case. And I pass on cases, but this is a case that I felt satisfied both of those requirements.
October 29, 2021, a notice of attorney appearance by Jennifer Ann Bonjean in appearance for Robert Sylvester Kelly was submitted. As well, the first motion for extension for time to file post-trial motions by Robert Sylvester Kelly was entered by Jennifer Bonjean, stating the following. Dear Judge Donnelly, undersigned counsel writes to respectfully request a 60-day extension of time in which to file Mr. Kelly's post-trial motions in the above caption matter. The government does not object to this request. Although undersigned counsel recently had an opportunity to meet with Mr. Kelly at the MDC, until this week she was unable to conduct even a cursory review of the trial record on account of other professional obligations. As such, undersigned counsel was not formally retained in this matter until just yesterday. Undersigned counsel has been retained to file post-trial motions in this matter and represent Mr. Kelly on direct appeal. Should this court deny his post-trial motions, as this court is aware, the finished trial was lengthy, consisting of roughly 25 days of testimony and or argument. Indeed, undersigned counsel cannot presently confirmed that she is in possession of the complete trial record. Undersigned counsel requires an adequate amount of time to scrutinize the docket, read the pleadings and report of proceedings, and study this court's prior orders in the case. To competently represent Mr. Kelly post-trial, undersigned counsel respectfully requests an enlargement of 60 days until December 31st, 2021, in which to file his post-trial motions. Respectfully submitted, Jennifer Bonjean. That day, the order was granted, giving motion for extension of time to file. The defendant's post-trial motion was due January 4th, 2022. The government's response was due January 25th, 2022. And thereafter, the defendants wanted to reply. It was due February 8th, 2022. November 4th, 2021, an order was submitted at the final pretrial conference on August 3rd, 2021. And before opening arguments on August 18, 2021, the court ruled on the government's pretrial motions in limb, giving the government ability to submit certain evidence for pretrial. Several notice of filings of official transcripts that were held on September 13th, September 14th, September 15th, and June 9th were released. December 27, 2021, a second motion for extension of time to file post-trial motions was submitted by Jennifer Bonjean. This docket, however, was under seal. December 29, 2021, the order was granted for the motion for extension of time to file. The defendant's post-trial motion was due by January 3rd, 2022 at this point, and given the government's response due date, February 24th of 2022. Now, if the defendant thereafter wanted to respond, this now was due March 10th, 2022. January 30th, 2022, the first motion to withdraw as attorney by R.KELLY was submitted. January 31st, 2022, the second motion of the first motion to withdraw as attorney by Calvin H. Scholar was then submitted. That same day, the judge granted the first motion to withdraw as attorney by Duro Leon Canick, as well as granting the motion for withdrawal as attorney by Calvin Harold Scholar.
Volume of testimony, the volume of evidence about R.KELLY with things that I felt like we already knew in the industry. We already knew in popular domain about information and things that he had done, even going so far as back as what his relationship was with Aaliyah and the marriage. So a lot of the stuff had been out there for quite a long time. And this was essentially a reckoning. My curiosity as an attorney, as an advocate, was whether or not prosecution was going to be able to overcome the hurdle of celebrity, to present that to a jury in a way that they understood the complicated racketeering charges and actually find him guilty. And so it's a relief, not so much as something against R.KELLY, but as much as it is a validation for Black girls and validation against Black LGBT boys that were victimized in this case and have had a decade of interaction, over a decade of interactions and negative interactions with people. So for me, for the victims, I was satisfied to hear this verdict.